Look, it is you who has done this.
Young ones, speak up and report power theft. It's a crime and affects everyone.
Save our lives and our homes. Save our whole community. Fight power theft today.
Let's unite against power theft and save lives.
On the next episode of La Patrona with
Why wait to celebrate? Enjoy discounts and bonuses. Get the Alcatel OT 1010.
Ready? I'm taking you to heaven tonight. Let's go now.
That little wretch. Not only is she flirting with Fernando, but with my brother-in-law as well? Truth, my darling. As we speak, Gabriella's shamelessly rolling in the over her because tonight she's with a real man, not a miserable drunk like you.
I'm divorcing you tomorrow, you miserable wench!
Sleeping in separate rooms again. The lives of those two are a living hell.
Yeah, and what do you care?
This is NTV.
Good evening and welcome to NTV Sports Bar tonight. Again, we are live from Club Silk. And on the program tonight, we take you through rugby. We'll be looking at basketball, especially the transfers, and we have some of the taking part in the 2015 ODI World Cup qualifiers in New Zealand. We'll talk the Australian Open as well as the latest football news, views and analysis from across Europe. We will go to Italy, Spain, England and everything that you need to know about the transfers. So we have plenty more coming up on NTV Sports Bar. But today we are joined by an interesting audience, and we have all types of people who know their sport, from club CEOs to coaches of basketball sides. We have former national team players, respected journalists, administrators, and everyone in the audience. And trust me, it is NTV Sports Bar. Now all you have to do is go to that page and like it if you haven't done that yet. So you like the page, you'll be able to post your comment and we'll read some of them as we proceed. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at NTV Sports Bar 1. That's
hopefully today Brian will not complain so much.
Okay.
That gender balance is surely well balanced on tonight. Yes.
Brian, any complaints?
What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying.
Tonight it's slightly better than it has always been.
I mean, it's always
from the audience.
Some people to speak by the way.
Okay. And well, I hope not much will be read into the sitting, especially Coach Nick and Jimmy. Well, this is just, sure, don't read too much into Jimmy being close to Coach Nick there. Anyway, we get straight to for Mr. Dominic Otuchet, together with the Executive Vice President Technical Okoto Mony, Vice President Administration Lawrence Kavuma, the General Secretary Beatrice Saikoru, the Assistant General Secretary Apollo Msherure, the Treasurer Godfrey Nwagaba, the Organizing Secretary Faustino Chiwa. Probably they were cheated, and that's what we are going to talk about today. Bran, to start with, another election that is contested at a sports federation. What is going on?
I think you feel Ugandan when you hear such things, isn't it? Because if this election, one or two people, and you talk about some people felt cheated. They felt cheated before even they thought of when the election will take place, because already controversies.
Okay.
So for me, it clearly shows what exactly happens in Ugandan sport, that we do not have people who want to work for legacies. We don't have people who want the sport, what want to do for sport. If I'm the athletics president, I want to leave this legacy. Say, we brought one or two youngsters to be at the top stage. I don't think we'll be having all these problems. But the problem is, probably one or two people think they can benefit in the office, can earn monies here and there. And that's where all these problems come from. And I don't see this ending just anytime soon, because these guys are not going to be sitting, the ones that lost. I'm sure they've got backup to fight.
Okay. Well, joining us tonight is the Assistant General Secretary in the new executive, Apollo Msherure. Well, he's going to tell us about the issues that were raised, especially by Julius Achon, who had initially shown interest in contesting for the presidency of the Uganda Athletics Federation. Among the issues he raises is the issue of the voting having been done the night before. Is there any validity in the issues raised by Mr. Sean and his camp?
Well, thank you very much, Patrick, and the full house. First of all, I need to appreciate the concerns raised by all Ugandans. And I just have this to say that whatever has been in the press has just been a deliberate, mere campaign to mudsling Uganda Athletics Federation, which I believe is the only sport in this country that has been free of chaos. And I will tell you that the elections took place on Saturday and not on Friday as being alleged in the papers. But I also want to say this, that Mr. Julius Achon, whom I have too much respect for, and I believe the whole entire country, we have respect for him. He did us proud to 1996, 2000. But I believe whatever actions he could have taken, one, were misconceived. Let's put sports above. If you take matters of sports, at a time when we are preparing for, instance, Africa cross country, which is in March, when we are preparing for Commonwealth, what does it spell for Ugandan sport? We had an obligation to hold elections not until after 30th of this month. And that means if we went beyond, as per the conditions which they are putting across, we are likely to get a reprimand from IWF. So we held a meeting with the National Council of Sports. And the issues which are being put across, one of the concerns was about the number of districts that were entitled to be part of the exercise. The second issue was about the returning officer. And the third issue was about the date of the election. And I want to start with this. We had an annual General Assembly, which was held in Rugogo on 14th of December. The executive presented item number 10 on our agenda as the elective assembly. On that agenda, we discussed and presented, we as executive, the person we thought was credible enough to be the returning officer, and that was William Brick, the president of Uganda Olympic Committee. We also discussed the date for the election, and members were proposing either 16th or 25th. All these were issues which were discussed in an open forum in the annual General Assembly on 14th of December. Now, or some of the delegates, or some of the people who argued that the returning officer was not named, or the date for the election was not fixed, were part and parcel of that. And we presented the minutes, for instance, to National Council of Sports, that we held this meeting. These items were discussed and were part of the agenda.
Okay, well, Apollo, sorry, I have to cut you short. Let's move on to the issue of Achon being locked out of the entire process. What were the grounds for this action?
Now, I was coming to that. When we held a meeting with National Council of Sports, Lila District had fallen out in 2010. Because there are two provisions. We have what we call an effective member, as per our Constitution. That's Article 1. Now, an effective member, you must have participated at least 2 times in an annual calendar for Uganda Athletics Federation. 2, you must have paid your subscription. And as some of the journalists, I said, if I'm to be part of WUSPA, do you have a provision for payment? They said yes. So if you have not paid your subscription, are you entitled to come in and vote? They said no. So we have those 2 provisions. Now, Lila had fallen out in 2010, and they had not participated in the 2010 election that brought the old executive into power. So now we discussed and said, okay, now, since Julius Achon thinks he should be part of this, let's create a waiver. We kind of bent the rules in our Constitution. I want to answer your question. Now, when we bent the rules, 6 hitherto ineligible districts were allowed in to come and do and be part of the exercise. Now, subject to that, it was incumbent upon the districts which had been waived to be part of the elective assembly to write and nominate officially and send their delegates to Uganda Athletics Federation, which was not done in the case of Lila.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Apollo. Now, I want to move on to Dixon Okello, commonly known as James Bond. Well, you're a passionate athletics fan, and I am told that you were a sprinter during your King's College Budo days. Since then, you've been an ardent athletics fan.
He's been itching to speak.
No.
I used to think he works for the State House, man.
Anyhow, Dixon, I want you to take us from this whole thing. As an athletics fan, where do you see this taking athletics in Uganda? Because in his acceptance speech, Dominic Otuche said he was willing to work with all the parties that were not satisfied with this entire process. Where do you see athletics going from this
Let
point?
me first correct you, Patrick. I was a member of the national team. I represented Uganda several times, so it's not only at college. So anyhow, let me start by saying the elections of UAF was the most corrupt, the most flawed election in the history of Uganda. You cannot hold an election where the federation unpicks delegates. You cannot hold an election where the federation pays for delegates to come. We have a role in athletics. I mean, our constitution says we have district chairmen, we have district sports officers. They're the ones supposed to nominate. So some of them were even shocked. For example, Kaptoro came, Tororo, Lira, they're all shocked to find fake delegates. So where did they come from? Now, yes, the elections were held. They even claimed that cleared 6 other districts. When the guys came, they blocked at the gates. So anyhow, I'm not going to go much into details, but we're already consulting several people, and I'm going to assure the federation.
When you say we, what exactly do you mean?
Sports lovers. Well, we people who love athletics in the country. The delegates that were locked out, former international athletes. We have even MPs who are on our side. We have lawyers who are on our side. We are not going to stop there. What we want, absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
No, the issue is, we thought sanity was going to prevail. National Council of Sports failed.
James Bond, okay, I'll call you James Bond. Let me bring in Alfred Odong as a neuter here, because I understand Dixon Okello, you're also leaning to one side. Alfred, what does this mean for Ugandan athletics?
I think I would just first of all count myself privileged to have been following trends in athletics, but also disappointed with authorities who should have brought anomaly in athletics, because petitions were filed with the National Council of Sports as regards the election. First was the issue of the returning officer. The issue is just not about him being a person of credibility. Yes, we may agree on that line, but the issue is that UOC president is elected by the heads of federations, okay? There is no way he could preside over these elections, because he may decide to pay back, because the person who was going to preside over elections, who was contesting the incumbent, had been one of those people who elected him into office. I think that was a valid concern. But most importantly, to me, is the issue of how delegates were picked. How did
there was
because under any normal circumstance, I had expected guidelines to be given for district to pick their delegates. That election should have been held before this overall election, but it was not done. And even there are instances whereby I saw letters from, for example, from Kapchora, and actually during the assembly, the sports officer of Kapchora filed a case in police back home, and they called police here. They were supposed to effect arrest of people who were impersonating in the assembly, because the delegates they sent, they had letters, but they had been locked out. Okay. I found it very weird. But also, if you see the way the delegates are elected, they say that there are two ways. That districts either nominate their delegates or they elect. But if you ask them that, do you have control over the process of electing or nomination at the district level? It is not there. Okay. So for me, I found it very, very weird. But even then, why did they fear these people to be inside? Because if they came unopposed, there were just a handful of people outside. To an extent, I think I have them to blame for all this mudslinging, if it is so. Because surely it leaves a lot to be, you can suspect. Even the issue of, because as we speak now, there are delegates who took part in the assembly and actually voted them in power, and I heard that they are willing to testify of how they met at night and conducted the elections. If it is true and comes in the limelight, surely authorities should be in position to take what?
Well, Those are the unfortunate happenings in the athletics world. I think we will find some time for you to react to some of these things later on in the show. Now, if you have anything you want to say about everything that we discuss here, please feel free to go on the Facebook page. Also, send us those tweets. Our handle is at NTV Sports Bar 1. But for now, we will move on to rugby, and well, we will start with the good news that was received by the rugby fraternity in Uganda, NTV, in a landmark partnership with the Uganda Rugby Union in a deal that was valued at over 1.8 billion shillings. And it's an interesting package, but among the things in there are showing live games, recorded games, and also a weekly magazine show purely on rugby. Now, joining us is Herbert Muchunguzi, also known as Odanki. He's the head of marketing at NTV, to briefly tell us what is contained in this package, because I've just given the highlights, and how rugby in Uganda stands to benefit from the 1.8 billion shillings that NTV has offered.
Thank you, our host, and the house at large, and the viewers. Well, NTV decided to enter into rugby because rugby is one of those sports that is growing. I mean, there are people like him that we admire, that we have always seen back in the day, and we feel that we should have many more like them, and we feel that we should even take the World Cup. So NTV came forth and gave a package of actually more than 1.86 billion, and we are going to showcase, we're going to, as he has said, we're going to have one live game. Those are 12 games in a year, and we're also going to have all the 3 internationals. We're also going to have one delayed. But most importantly, we are going to have a platform of 25 minutes each Saturday, where clubs, the rugby union, the fan zone can come and interact, and you find this is the show, for example, we're talking about all the sports, but that one will be specifically rugby. So we feel that is a platform we have put forward. We have not even costed that one, and we are telling the nation that, look here, together we can do this. And research has also shown us that our viewers are continuously telling us that, look here, we need sports, we need rugby. So expect much more. We are there to come. NTV is there for you. And we think the game of rugby should actually be above, and I want to believe it is above these politics or the conflicts I'm seeing in other sports. And I believe, Musoke, you can bear witness to that. So we feel that we shall definitely continue, and we shall definitely support the rugby fraternity.
Thank you very much, Herbert Muchunguzi, head of marketing at NTV, and well, that's an interesting development. Staying with rugby, a number of games were played over the weekend in the Rugby League, and among them was the win for the MTN Heathens, beating the Mutoni Warriors 74-7. 19-19 was the final score between Mongas and Easy Money Rhinos, and then Pirates on Friday beat the Buffaloes, the Toyota Buffaloes 26-13, as Dima Cobbs beat Lira Bulls 151-0. I will go straight to the audience. I have a gentleman that Herbert referred to as one of the former rugby players that they look up to, a man commonly known as Soki. Let me take you on 2 issues here. The Lira Bulls' performance in the Super 8, is it good for Ugandan rugby?
Well, it is good. First of all, good evening, everybody. Let me call you housemates. And all the viewers out there, good evening. The Lira Bulls partnership is really, really interesting. It is first time that we've had a team come out of the traditional rugby districts, Ginger being the farthest. And again, they have been given a baptism of fire when every team has really stepped up, and every team is actually doing very, very well. They are going to be whipping boys for this season. If they manage to stay up, I think in the next 2-3 years, they are going to develop. And we do need to start tapping talent from the northern part of Uganda. That one is real, and we have to do something. The union has to do something. We have to get them playing the big boys ever so frequently, as opposed to just maybe one Uganda Cup game a year. And if they don't make it there past their traditional leagues, then they won't even get that chance. Lira Bulls, and we actually give them credit for their persistence. They haven't dropped a game. They haven't given up a walkover, apart from the one incident where they didn't have an ambulance, but they were ready to play. So that's credit to them.
But
Okay.
as a former player, I'd like to know, because if you sink in more than 200 points, I mean, on records are sinking more than 200 against Lira Bulls. I know there's a question of learning too, but do you sit down and say, okay, let's pick the positives of learning, or do you sit down and say, you know what, we either quit the rugby or probably join some other teams that can do a better job than us?
As a player, it must be very, very tough when they look at the scoreboard in some of these games, and
Look, it looks obscene.
the photographers are not very kind because we still paste this up in social media. But then again, they give the players another chance to experience something that they don't normally do, which is actually have a rugby tour to actually play a game where you have to spend a night. That has not been heard of in traditional rugby. We do need to give the Lira Bulls support in terms of technical and even financial, so that they can be able to get to the rugby playing standard and maybe cause a few ripples in a few upsets here and there.
All right, thank you very much, Esoki. And to wrap up the rugby, we are joined by a lady who loves her rugby. I've seen her several times at the rugby clubs. I don't know which sides she's more associated with. I don't know if it's Legends or Chadondo. Anyway, Becky, you follow rugby closely. I always see you at the rugby club. Pirates winning on Friday. Do you think it's a little too late for them, or you think they can actually survive?
Good evening, everyone. I think it's a little too late because from the beginning of the season, they haven't been performing so well, and it's like they're remembering to do something at this time. But that match was very interesting. If you really watched it, they fought. It was a good fight, and it's good that they have been motivated, though it's late, but they should just keep it up. Next season will be a very good one for them.
All right. Well,
should be one of the positives, maybe.
One of the positives.
One of the positives because they beat up on the Buffaloes.
Anyway.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Again-
that was. Soki, you had something to say?
Yeah, again, it was against the bookies' odds that they could actually come up with such a performance. And they have 3 games to save their season and jump out of the relegation fight. I don't think they should be down there. Good for them, they are rebuilding. They have a number of school kids, and well, it's a phase that they have to take, but they do have to take their last game seriously if they're going to remain up.
All right, and well, on that note, we'll quickly move on to the basketball. The sides have been busy, the different sides in the National Basketball League, trying to get reinforcements ahead of the new season. Now, like I said, that we have a few gentlemen here who make the decisions. But Aisha here, the basketball transfers have been very interesting. The discussions have been interesting. You have Jeff and Koma moving to City Oil, and then you have Cyrus and Norman moving to Warriors. Anything new?
There's been a lot of denials going on,
and I'm sure, well, Ivan is already denying what I've just said.
Yeah, denials being confirmation for many of us, but it's been a really interesting one, and I think this is what you want to see, especially in the game of basketball, and it's becoming more competitive, and I think many of these players want new challenges elsewhere. Some may not be as hungry in the clubs they are at, and when they get a chance to move, we have a new champion, City Oil. So I think everyone is going to be trying to beat them up and knock them off that mantle. So should be an interesting season up ahead.
Okay, well, Ivan Towers is the CEO of Warriors, sitting next to an ardent power fan. Well, Ivan, when I talked about Norman and Cyrus, you seem to disagree. Is it true?
Very disrespectful. The man is there. Someone's caught down there.
And Nick will tell us if they are snatching Cyrus away from him.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a beautiful forum that this is. And on behalf of Warriors, there's so many rumors going around, and I don't know who substantiates these rumors, where they come from. But I'm here to make it very clear. If we make a signing, I'm sure the Sports Bar will be the first to know. Which rumors I'm happy about, because there's clearly a lot of activity in the transfer, this transfer period. Many players are crossing over to teams that would never have thought they would play. I'm right now in the presence of would be MVP for 2013, and then Nick is also here from UCU, sitting next to a power fan, which doesn't happen very often. But I appreciate.
But Ivan, okay, you've not signed anyone, but who are you looking at?
we I'm not sure this is the forum to discuss.
Do you have a new coach?
Brian, I'm sure you know the answer to that,
No.
And that one I'll come out and let
Okay,
everyone
well,
know.
let me move on to Coach Nick, Coach Nick Natweza, coach of the UCU Cannons. Is Cyrus staying with you?
Hopefully, he's staying with us. Well, it's confident because anything can happen in Ghana basketball. Yeah, so hopefully he'll stay with us. Hopefully again.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
When I was studying the show,
someone, but we haven't yet sealed anything.
Because you've been following basketball for quite some time. Have you seen a busier transfer probably period like it's been this season, or like what we're about to have?
In terms of rumors?
Yeah, matter because start with the rumor.
Yeah, I
clearly get the point. Apart from because the time when Steve moved, it was only the 72 million move, and that was it. But have you seen a period where there's been so much talk about players?
Yeah, I think this has probably been the busiest in terms of rumors, and I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing to see players want to move on. As you see, we're used to that because we've lost so many players over the years. We've had so many come in. Like, I'm proud to be seated next to, like Ivan said, would be MVP that was once with us. So I think we're used to that. It's nothing new. If we lose players, we'll have new ones coming in and we'll still compete.
well, thank you, Nick Natweza, there, coach of the UCU Cannons. We also have Jimmy Enabo here, who is a contestant for the MVP award there. But we'll have to go into a break. Probably we'll hear from Jimmy and Jet, a power fan. When we come back from the break, we'll also take you through the national cricket team. We also have the Australian Open and plenty of European football coming up after this short break.
NTV keeps standing on your word with myself, Brian, and of course, Mabel. Now guys, this is the real deal. Muzukuke, wake up, okay? Morning at NTV, we'll have lots of fun. Just bounce, just... And of course, lots of gifts. We'll also educate.
And when the child is born and there are little nutrients available, then the child also does not develop very well.
Analyze.
They looked at government expenditure and they were not very convinced.
What does it mean for the young country?
And criticize.
The magnitude of the suffering of the Ugandan in South Sudan.
That's why Kasiaki is here. Morning at NTV. Wired to start your day.
Morning at NTV, coming soon.
Welcome back. This is the Sports Bar on NTV. Patrick Kanyomos, Aisha Nasanga, Brian Tukan. We have a very lively audience with us tonight. We are live from Club Silk, and thank you very much for the comments that you have sent in so far on Facebook and the tweets. We have received them, and Aisha will be reading a few of them as we go on. Just to remind you that our Facebook page is NTV Sports Bar. Go on and like it and post your comment there. Also follow us on Twitter at NTV Sports Bar 1. Now, briefly before we move on to the cricket, we would like to finalize on the basketball talk and everything. When we went into the break, Jimmy Enabu wanted to say something. Like I said, he's a favorite for the MVP award. He plays for City Oilers, who are reported to be on a massive recruitment drive. They have already taken Jeff Omondi and Ben Komakech. Jeff Omondi from Falcons and Komakech from Power. and there are reports of other players that might be joining City Oilers. Jimmy
is also male basketball of the year.
Yeah, male basketball of the year, voted by the Uganda Sports Press Association, whose president we also have with us here. Jimmy, first of all, there are reports that you might be leaving City Oilers for greener pastures. Sorry to put you on the spot. And again, the other thing is these new additions, what do they bring to your team?
Okay, thank you, Patrick. First of all, about the rumors about me leaving, I don't know how that came about. I received a message, oh, Jimmy, I heard you're leaving. So I was in shock myself. About Ben and Jeff Omondi, I think those are big signings. It's going to, I think it's going to propel us a lot. So I don't want to talk too much about how next season will be, but like Nick said, I hope for the best as well.
I mean, you played with UCU, via horsepower ended up in City Hall because clear and power looked like Channel 3 to City Hall. You're there but what do you make of your performance last season? And even what you've done in the past years in basketball, what exactly changed about your game and even your performance?
I don't think, I personally don't think a lot changed. I think I was just a lot more consistent with City Oilers, you know. So there's not much of a big difference. Like.
Okay, well, okay, thank you, Jimmy. There now, Power is represented by a number of people and ardent fans, even players. I don't know if Soki you're planning to play next season for Power, but we have Colin Soika. We also have Jet. But I'll ask the lady to speak on behalf of the Power fans. Power fans seem not happy, given the fact that there's not much speculation or players linked to Power. Is there any need to worry for Power?
Actually, Patrick, I would say it was very sad for Koma to leave, but we are getting the best two basketballers in Africa. You should wait for the surprise.
Well, anyway, that's Power for you. We'll have to leave the basketball talk at that and go into something different. And we go to cricket. The national cricket team is in New Zealand for the World Cup qualifiers. Now, things have not been going on well for the team, and all is left for Uganda is to fight for the 9th place. And of course, Uganda, after losing to Canada by 59 runs, was relegated to Division 3, and that comes with a heavy price. I mean, including the financial assistance that Uganda has been getting from the International Cricket Council. And well, actually, I don't know if we should again talk about what went wrong for the national cricket team, but this is really upset because you think that the effects will be far-reaching, even more than the cash that comes from the ICC.
I think the association finds themselves in a really terrible position at this stage. And you want to talk about a drawing board and whether there are any of those in Ugandan sport, but for them, they're going to really need to dig deep to even have a generation of the next generation playing some cricket, because it trickles right down to the schools, to the girls playing cricket, to almost every cricket activity going on in the country. And it's not helped by the fact that many of the players on the national team actually play only cricket, so that's where they earn their living from. And if the association is not getting in any money, how are they going to play these players? So that is also a big issue to look into.
Okay, and well, I'll now move on to Robert Madoy. Robert Madoy, well, is a man who loves his cricket, and he's a sports producer at NTV here. Robert, what do you make of Uganda's performance? First of all, with the current performances, how the team performed, you think it's going to be hard to bounce back into Division 2?
Yeah, well, it looks like Division 3 is the place where we belong, because if you go back to the T20 qualifiers, the victories we got in that tournament were against sides from Division 3. Look at Bermuda, and I think it was, pardon? No, it wasn't UAE. What was that team? The teams, Italy. Yeah, it was Italy. We beat up on Italy and Bermuda. These are teams that are playing in Division 3. For me, the story has been the same, and the fact that Johan Rudolph has failed spectacularly, I think it means we have to come back, start, trying to grow the game from the grassroots. The issue of us not being able to play spinners to be addressed. If you look at the figures from the tournament, spinners have been tearing through our attacks like a knife through butter. So I think they have to address those issues, pertaining to growing the game from the grassroots. These quick fixes, papering over cracks that we're going for these mercenaries, it has to stop. We have to groom kids who love, the Ugandan shirt, and get cricket back where it belongs.
Well, that's the story of Ugandan cricket, and we will quickly move on to the Australian Open, which concluded yesterday with the men's final taken by Stanislas Wawrinka when he beat Rafa Nadal, becoming the first man since 2009 outside the top 4 to win a major title. And well, what a win it was for Wawrinka there, Bran. Well, he played against an injured Rafa Nadal, but he had been superb throughout the tournament. How much does that take away from his victory, the fact that Rafa Nadal wasn't at his best?
First of all, congratulations to Mark. I'm sure you're good, and okay, Roger didn't win. That was the problem. Because I thought when we come back here and Roger's won the Australian Open, this man will be in trouble. But the thing is, to be fair to you, I think it would be very unfair to talk about injuries before giving Stan/Wawrinka credit. Fella played very good tennis all throughout. He beat up on Novak Djokovic, beat up Thomas Berdych in the semi-finals. Ordinarily, not actually even ordinarily. I think in hierarchy, if you go to the best tennis players lately, or rather even for the last 3 years, Thomas Berdych is actually ahead of Stanislas Wawrinka, and he beat him up on the semi-finals convincingly. Beat up on Novak Djokovic convincingly. It comes in the game, of course. You may not want to rule out the injuries, but I've seen Rafael Nadal beat up on people when he's half fit because he's that good. Stanislas probably had different ideas. Even if probably Nadal was fully fit, it could have been a tough game for him probably to come through this. So for me, I think injuries, yes, but Stanislas has played some unbelievable tennis. Everything he's been doing has been super. From his serve, from his forehand, from his movement on the court, he's been absolutely out of his hand. And for me, I don't care what happened to Rafa Nadal, Stanislas Wawrinka deserves his Australian Open.
Well, Mark Namanya, you dismissed any chance of Roger Federer winning the Australian Open, and well, looked like it was justified because he couldn't beat a Nadal with a blister. What's happening to the FedEx?
I think I first said, Roger Federer is the greatest tennis player of all time. And I mean, his effortless efficiency, there's not been a player in the history of the sport who's been as smooth, as pure a tennis player as Roger Federer. So I have nothing against Roger Federer. I just think he should...
There's nothing. And that's,
I think he should retire. I think he should retire, frankly. He should retire. He's not going to beat...
No, he could meet Rafa and Rafa gets injured.
Yeah, then there'll be Djokovic. Djokovic won't get injured. Nadal won't get injured in the same Grand Slam, and Murray. I thought he played a very good tournament, but he's not going to beat Rafa Nadal. I think the oddity about Roger Federer is that he's the greatest tennis player of all time who couldn't beat his contemporary rival, who was Nadal. Yes, he's had a couple of victories over him, but his head-to-head record is a bit nasty. I think he's lost... it is now 23-10 or something. That isn't good.
But I think it's also more credit to Rafa rather than saying Federer is a poor, because you remember when when Federer was dominant in tennis, Rafa just woke up one day and said, "We've got to stop this," and when he did,
the greatest Grand Slam final I've watched was and it was Goran Ivanisevic for me. Goran Ivanisevic against Patrafta in 2001, Wimbledon. I think the second greatest I've watched was Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, Wimbledon 2008. But the thing is, Roger Federer, I think he's pushing himself for that one slam. I get the feeling he wants to go on high. I don't think it's going to happen. I think right now there's the Swiss #1, Stanislas Wawrinka, who's been playing the best tennis of all the top Swiss players for the last 3 or 4 years. I think Novak Djokovic is younger, Nadal is younger. Andemai right now has got the verve and the belief in Grand Slams. I thought, Nadal was playing against Federer when he was injured. He had that very terrible blister.
but you couldn't tell. Actually, in the game, you felt Fedra was the guy who was injured. And
Okay, then
I
came
think
the back.
Okay, well,
so I can bet my bank balance again on Sports Bar that Roger Federer will not win the Grand Slam in 2014.
Okay, well, we will of course hold you accountable. Aisha, to the ladies, well, Lena, after the ejection of Azarenka, Sharapova, and Serena Williams, yeah, well, was definitely going to be favorite. But in the final, you expected at least some resistance from Shibukova, not so?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't. I didn't think she was as strong as Lena in that particular one. And the minute Serena got knocked out, she was clearly the favorite because Azarenka had clearly struggled, and I think Sharapova before that I don't think had enough tennis down her belt. Maybe if she had survived and gotten into, say, a semi-final, she would have perhaps phoned her game, but I thought Lena was the strongest in that one, and she's gotten better at playing Grand Slams and getting into quarterfinals and semi-finals, so I thought she stood a very good chance after that.
Yeah, well, that's the tennis, and we will move on to the first part of European football, and that's the La Liga. Well, running up the major action from La Liga, Real Madrid took temporary leadership there with the 2-0 win over Granada on Saturday, but Barcelona bounced back to reclaim their position with a 3-0 win over Malaga, as Atletico Madrid beat Rayo Vallecano 4-2. So that means that Barcelona stayed top with 54 points, as well as Atletico Madrid, only separated by goal difference, and Real Madrid are only a point behind these two. Well, Bran, Barcelona must have felt relieved, of course, by what happened on the pitch, given what was going on off the pitch.
And yeah, of course, it's not looking good with the Neymar issue. When you see people, every time I look at some of those presidents resigning, and I'm thinking, okay, why shouldn't the Athletics Federation president also resign? Since
why is there a reason for him
every
to
time
resign?
there's chaos, someone resigns in the Western world. Here, people say, no, I've got to stick here. I've got to wait and do something here. So I hope the president also resigns since there is chaos. But anyways, that was by the way. But but that's a by the way. But I think Barcelona had to be first of all patient, and I think because their first goal must have come around the 40th minute. Because every time I think some of these defenses in Spain have tried to get back behind the ball and try to stop them. In the last 3 or 4 games, they've really found it hard to break down defenses. But I think they managed to come through, which is good to get back to the top. But I think we've talked so much of Barcelona and Atletico. The team that has impressed me most in the last 2, 3, 4 games has been Athletic Bilbao. How things can quickly change once you click. Towards the end of last season, they were fighting relegation. Even at the start, they were not as convincing as they are. This team in the last 3, 4 games, they've scored, I think they've been an average of 4 goals. And that's how good they are. And that's how good they look actually. Much as they are way off. I think the top guys in Atletico, Madrid and Barcelona. But I've been very impressed with the way they're doing their things.
Well, Aisha, we will have to read some of the comments before we proceed on to the next item, which will be Italian football. But thank you very much again for the comments that have come in via Facebook and also the tweets that we have here, a number of them interesting ones. Well, Aisha, quickly, some of them.
A lot to do with the UAF elections, and Enoch Honeycab saying, why do heads not want to leave offices for others? Will they die in the offices? UAF has been okay, not like FUFA, who are disorganizing our sports. And someone here also talking about Okello Dixon, this one is addressed to you, should know that what it feels like to be bullied, since he's good at that.
Dixon, I don't know if you were bullied in school or you're still a bully.
And Kichoden is taking us back to Uganda Cranes and saying, what's the future of the Uganda Cranes? Do we have a chance to ever qualify for the World Cup if things move on like this? I think we need 10 centre moves in the field to qualify. And these are some of the comments.
I've seen one. There's one interesting one from Biaruhanga Emon. He says, if you don't have a gun in Uganda, please forget winning an election. You have to be Sabarwan. Dixon,
I'm sure that's directed to
the
Dixon camp. Well, thank you very much for those comments. And for someone who talked about the Uganda Cranes, probably I should make a quick mention of the fact that CAF today released the qualification procedure for the 2015 African teams to make it to the group stages of qualification for the 2015 World Africa Cup of Nations. The preliminary rounds will be played between May and August, and Uganda will be involved in that campaign. For now, we go into a break. When we come back, we'll be talking Italian football. We also have the FA as well as the Premier League, and we'll also read out more of your comments after this break.
Now On is brought to you by Dairy Fresh Flavored Milk. Enjoy the tasty and nutritious goodness of Dairy Fresh Flavored Milk. Delicious to the last drop. Brookside, goodness for all.
On the next episode of Irrational Heart with...
Why wait to celebrate? Enjoy discounts and bonuses. Get the Alcatel OT1010D at a chop price of 39,000 shillings.
Honey, they're just gonna hire a guide. What they really care about is spending all of Teodoro's money.
Sure. Leonardo, let's wait outside, please.
Yes, for just a second, sweetheart.
Well, sir, you wouldn't be allowed to enter into Portugal with a passport if it's damaged.
Excuse me, you don't understand. I said that I'm boarding this flight right now.
You lost, Leo.
Leonardo Brandao, you're under arrest for sabotaging an aircraft, for causing the death of Luciana Alencar, and for the attempted murder of the pilot Pedro Brandao.
Why wait to celebrate? Enjoy discounts and bonuses of up to 100%. The festive season changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
This is Sports Bar on NTV. We are live from Club Silk, and thank you very much for joining this discussion from wherever you are on the social networks. Now we move on to Italian football, where Juventus' lead was cut to 6 points after they failed to win their 13th successive Serie A game. They could only draw 1-1 with Lazio, Candreva giving Lazio the lead. Juve were reduced to 10 men after Gigi Buffon's challenge on Miroslav Klose. But Fernando Llorente equalized for Juve. It ended 1-1. Roma won their game against Hellas Verona. 3-1 was the score. Goals from Gavinio as well as Yajic and Francesco Totti. That means that Juve's lead is down to 6 points. Napoli could only draw against Chievo. So that's the situation in the Italian Serie A. And joining us in the audience is a man who is crazy about Italian football. Actually, most of us know him as Tim Calassio. He knows everything about Italian football, very crazy about Italian football. Colin, Juve and the title chase.
I think Juventus are light years ahead of the other chasing pack, and they should be able to win this one, considering the chasing pack are having all sorts of results not going their way. But you suddenly thought that they were bound to lose a few points, if not 3. Against Lazio, because they had also Lazio had been having some kind of good performances, but going forward to be the mighty Milan that are falling in all kinds of places, considering that they have just signed a 40-year-old in Michael Essien and the hiring of a novice in the Clarence Seedorf. You tend to think administratively they've got to put their house in order for them to mount some kind of challenge. Although European football seems a distant target next year.
And they have a Mario who's picked up 13 yellow cards.
Yeah,
I've not even seen a defender probably pick up 13 yellow cards in a season.
Yeah, and there have been a couple of hotheads over the years. If you've remembered the Barcelona between 1990 and 96, they had about 5 hotheads. I mean, they are the kinds of people that we get used to, including our very own David Obua here. but that doesn't take away the brilliance that comes along with such hot heads.
Well, that's Colline, commonly known as Team Classic there.
Team Classic.
About Italian
To put it
football.
right, yeah.
And I think we will leave it at that and go straight into the FA Cup. A number of games were played over the weekend, but we cannot look at all of them, so we will pick out a few. Chelsea winning 1-0 against Stoke. Manchester City coming from 2 down to win 4-2 against Watford. Arsenal had before that beaten Coventry 4-0 to make it to the 5th round, and the draw brought out interesting matchups. 2 of them, Arsenal will be playing Liverpool, while Manchester City will be playing Chelsea, and Jose Mourinho has already said that Chelsea will have nothing to lose in that game because of especially City's home record in that tie. And well, let me start with a man from the audience whose team is not involved in FA Cup action thanks to Swansea, but of course buoyed by the arrival of a one matter from Chelsea. Andre, how does it feel like looking at the FA Cup from the outside?
Nick, how did you know it was how did you
but Andre, how do you look at these matchups? Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, because I understand in this case you will be a neutral.
Thank you, Patrick. Of course, you have to look at it from the angle that any winner would come from City and Chelsea. Alternatively, if Liverpool come from the other tie, I would back them to win it. I do not see Arsenal beating up on anyone in the tie between Chelsea and Man City because Chelsea and Man City seem to have an upper hand mentally, and when you look at the squads as well and the coaches, only Liverpool can put up a fight to beat the two.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
What has surprised me most this season is that Man City I think they have the best record at home in the Premier League. And it's shocking that actually, I do not think of any other side that has had a better performance than Watford at the Etihad, and it's a championship team. And then the other, I think, that has followed must have been Crystal Palace. I think they lost 1-0. It's shocking with all the attack that they throw at you. It's been Crystal Palace and Watford that have managed actually to come out of probably Etihad with decent results.
Okay, that brings us straight to the Premier League games that are coming up tomorrow and on Wednesday. But of course, no doubt that much of the talk in the Premier League has been about the one matter moving to Manchester United, £37 million, a record for Manchester United. The last they had paid such a huge amount was when they bought Dimitar Berbatov from Tottenham for £30.75 million. And I want to ask Coach Nick about the impact that matter is likely to have on Manchester United. Of course, in relation to your coaching experience, what the arrival of such a player can have on a team, because at least the spirits are already lifted, because that loss to Sunderland in the Capital One Cup wasn't as painful, simply because the news had already filtered through that Mata was joining United.
Never mind about the figure, because you might never coach a player with £37 million tax, so it's okay.
I think it looks like a good signing for United, but I think I'm sorry to say to Andrew that I think United are in a phase that cannot be solved by a player like Mata. I think it's a transition phase that has to happen, whether you like it or not. Even if you go out and sign the best players in the world, they will probably struggle. So I think some of the old players who are under the Ferguson era probably retired with Ferguson mental at least. And until they get that sorted, it's going to be hard for United. I'm even struggling to see how Mata is going to fit into the team when Wayne Rooney and Robbie Van Persie come back, because I think he likes playing as a striker, which is his natural position. So I don't think he's going to have much impact, because I think the problems are bigger than probably Mata.
Okay, to start with, I think the transition of phases have also gotten phases. Now this one of United is close to bottom of the phases. Now even when United knew they were going to struggle, they didn't know they would struggle this much. That's one. Two, United need quality players at the moment, whether it's next season or it's in January. And I think probably quality may not come any better than one matter. Now, how the manager is going to fit in, given that it is David Moyes, who's the manager. That can come later, but you need quality players first, then sort the other things later.
Yeah, but anyway, I think the problem for United is that the competition right now is not as it has been in the past.
Yeah.
There's a lot of competition.
No doubt.
So even if they sign how many players, there's no guarantee that they're going to get past, say, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Man City.
If they sign Messi and Ronaldo, they'll win the Premier League.
Mark here is itching to say something about United, but unfortunately we are out of time. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Talk about David Moyes.
Yeah, I know Mark wanted to talk about David Moyes because I already know what he thinks about David Moyes and having players there. But the games we were talking about, there's Manchester United taking on Cardiff. That's tomorrow night, and then Norwich will be up against Newcastle as Southampton take on Arsenal. Fulham travel to Swansea as Crystal Palace will host Hull. Liverpool will take on Everton. That's a Merseyside derby. And then on Wednesday we'll have Aston Villa playing West Brom. Chelsea will host West Ham United. Stoke will be away to Sunderland, and then Spurs will play Manchester City. Those are the Premier League games coming up tomorrow and on Wednesday. On that note, I want to thank you very much. Special thanks to everybody that made it to Club Silk tonight. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming through. Aisha Nasanga and Brian Tuka joined me, Patrick Kanyamos, for NTV Sports Bar, live from Club Silk. Well, we always leave you with a legend, and we leave you with a man from Manchester United, where there had been speculation that Mata was going to be given the number 7 jersey at United. Now we talk about George Best, a man who played for over 11 years at Manchester United, scoring 179 goals in 470 games, a legend indeed.
NTV, turning on your world.
Program Guide. Tomorrow night.
Truth, my darling. As we speak, Gabriella is shamelessly rolling in the hay with Alejandro.
It's a lie. That's a lie. Gabrielle wouldn't let anyone touch her.
As much as it hurts, it's the plain truth. I already told you I saw them going into the hotel.
Yes. I need a woman who looks like me. I need Mitch to think I'm here in San Francisco.
So how do you win?
I attack.
And what do you do after you attack?
I never stop attacking.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
NTV, turning on your world.
They need to be tied as children so that they don't misuse this power.
President Museveni warns judges over bail for capital offences as he scoffs at threats to his rule. We're glad you're watching NTV tonight. A warm welcome to the program.
Let's take a look at the headlines.
They have taken over a role as a ministry.
Ministry of Agriculture officials reveal that veterans are now in charge of the NADS project.
Bugerere goes wild as Kabaka Mutebi starts his 3-day tour of the county.
Also tonight, buried in an unmarked grave, the miserable life of refugees in Sango Bay.
This is NTV Tonight.
Welcome to the program. I'm Rachel Arinitwemwine.
Joel Kamadi.
All right, President Yoweri Museveni is warning his detractors planning to oust him by the use of arms that they face terrible consequences if they dare do so.
The president was speaking at the opening of the 16th Annual Judges Conference in Entebbe.
He also warned judges over giving bail for capital offences.
Suhail Mugabi has more.
The 16th Annual Judges Conference kicked off at Entebbe under the theme Enhancing Public Confidence in the Judiciary. The conference was graced by President Yoweri Museveni, the Acting Chief Justice Stephen Kavuma, a host of judicial officers and members of the justice, law and order sector. President Museveni, in his address, sounded a warning to all those harboring plans of toppling his government by using arms to think twice. He also criticized the judiciary for granting bail to suspects of such capital offences.
Some of these people are idiots. Huh? They just go around that they want to overthrow Uganda government. Uganda government overthrow it. Oh. You don't know what you are talking about. So, NRM government overthrow with arms, but that's our speciality. With the BCJ, it's like a joke. Why should somebody commit the same offense repeatedly and he's given bail all the time?
The president further scoffed at people who describe his government as a dictatorial one.
When I hear these people saying that this is a dictatorial government, we removed detention without trial, we removed them from... By the time I became president, that law was still there, detention without trial.
The Attorney General and the Acting Chief Justice in their speeches spoke about a range of problems affecting the smooth running of the judiciary.
One of the challenges is that one of manpower.
However, in the recent past, Your Excellency, the Judicial Service Commission did recruit a number of judges.
Your Excellency, the Attorney General has reported about deliberations in Cabinet in the area of the welfare of judges and justices and judicial officers.
Amid the many challenges that have been highlighted to be existing within the judicial system, the President has also highlighted that justice should not be perceived to be for the rich, but for all the people.
So we are saying, let there be an opening for people not, who cannot afford to go and hire a lawyer, to go and file exorbitant, court fees, to access justice in the simplest possible terms. We also have what we call justice centers.
The justices of the Supreme Court, High Court, and Court of Appeal will review the judiciary's performance and accountability for the next 3 days, along with representatives of the justice, law and order sector. Suhail Mugabe, NTV.
Thank you, Suhail Mugabe. Now, it is emerging that officials from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries handed over a technical program to NRA war veterans to manage despite them having no qualifications to run the program. The revelations made by legislators from Parliament's Public Accounts Committee stunned MPs who ordered the officials to avail them more documents about the irregularity. Moiso Chol reports.
Agriculture has been the bedrock of Uganda's economy since time immemorial, providing about 80% of total employment. The government has consequently come up with a range of initiatives to boost the sector over the years.
Available to us.
But MPs from the Public Accounts Committee unearthed a management scandal at the Ministry of Agriculture in which former soldiers of the National Resistance Army were given roles of managing the country's plan for modernization of agriculture without having the necessary expertise.
Our terms of reference
not engaged in agriculture, engaged in implementation.
At beneficiaries and implementation.
We are not concerned about veterans being beneficiaries. They are just like any other Ugandan. They can benefit from government programs.
The lawmakers in the committee questioned the war veterans about their competence in managing such a technical program.
You substitute them by an NADIS coordinator. Now you are giving to people who have no confidence. That's the concern of members.
What experience do they come with to execute your mandate?
Some of those veterans, the zonal officers, some cannot even differentiate black and white. And now you are surrendering such a critical mandate, a critical mandate of agriculture, animal industry and fisheries to people, to soldiers who were even ousted from the army. Now they've come and ousted you, the technical people.
The Agriculture Ministry's Permanent Secretary Vincent Rubarema defended the veterans, arguing that the ministry had an agreement of carrying out the agriculture services with the veterans.
We have a working arrangement with the Office of the Prime Minister, properly documented. So we engage, we provide the technical...
Can we get that document? Can we get that document?
Have come with it, but Mr. Okasai, yes, you can get a series of documents which clearly define our engagement with the Office of the Prime Minister.
The lawmakers then demanded a copy of the agreement.
Give me 2 days and...
But where
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, information. Who said that they're available?
Mr. Chairman, the PS should not tell you that in NTV. He has signed it, a memorandum of understanding with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister is next door here. And there is a lead agent there, or a focal point person.
Edakite, you take leave, go and bring that. If you don't bring that thing, your PS will not sleep in his house.
He's retrieving it from our offices in Entebbe.
No problem. Entebbe is not like Arua or Muhongo. Do the needful. Accompany him.
They have taken over. They are the ones with equipment, agricultural implements, agricultural inputs, seeds, fertilizers, sprays, name it. In other words, here the ministry is just a shadow.
After 2 hours, they returned from Entebbe with the documents.
But give us the balance now. Do you have that document?
The permanent secretary didn't seem sure of the document he was given, but handed it over to the chairman of PAC, who expressed doubts about its authenticity.
What we have here is veterans benefiting from NATS program like any other Uganda.
The document you have does not even relate what we are dealing with. What we are saying, army veterans are not agricultural extension officers. They are not NATS coordinators. They have taken over your role as a ministry to implement government programs. This is what members are all raising.
The committee will write a report about the irregularity and forward it to Parliament for discussion, after which a decision will be taken about the fate of the veterans. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
The Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Mwenda Mutebi, has started his 3-day visit of Bugerere County in Kayunga district today. His visit comes nearly 5 years after riots broke out in the capital Kampala and several towns in Buganda region after the king was blocked from visiting the kingdom's county in Bugerere. 3 days of riots left dozens dead and several injured. Today, the mood was stark different from that tumultuous event. Julius Sekando reports.
From Sunday evening, celebrations were in high gear as Baganda loyals prepared for the visit of Kabaka Ronald Mwenda Mutebi to Bugerere County. By around 7 a.m., people had converged by the roadside while others were still carrying out last-minute preparations. Sango Bridge, which separates Chagwe County from Bugerere, was the major point of convergence. In the crowd were county officials, politicians and ordinary Baganda, all were in a bland mood. Cathedral Charles Peter Maiga was among the first dignitaries to reach the bridge. Amid cheers, Kabaka Ronald Mwenda Mutebi arrived at about midday. As a culture, he opened Sango Bridge as a sign of official kicking off his tour of the county. He took a historical walk across the bridge as his subjects cheered him. He then headed to Kayunga Hospital, where he participated in an immunization drive and donated mosquito nets. His next trip was Nachesa village, where he commissioned a food store that will be used by farmers in the area to preserve food. In his address to the crowds, Katikiro Mega urged residents to use the store to fight poverty in the area.
Mubere banywevu mukole nnyo. Store eno Ssaabasajja Kabaka gyatuguliddewo si kifaananyi kya kutunuulira nti erabika bulungi.
Kabaka, who is on the 3-day tour of the county, will visit various farmers as well as other economic generating activities. His visit comes months after warming up of relationship between Kingdom and the central government, which culminated into the signing of a memorandum of understanding in August last year. Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
Now, when they die, they are buried in unmarked graves and transported at night. That is the reality that refugees in Sango Bay in Rakai district face. Our reporter Florence Nalimba has just returned from the area and gives us an insight into the life of these refugees.
Since they came to the camp, they have lived and still live in fear.
They told us that here, people around here, they eat people, first of all. That's what they told us. So now, we don't know why they told us so. And since we came here, actually, they have not eaten anyone.
This has, however, not quelled David's concerns, and that's why he won't go looking for odd jobs out of the camp.
Life in Sango Bay camp, according to the people who are staying here, has become a real terror. Some of the things they've told us are so gruesome to comprehend.
Aside from lacking almost all basic needs, including health services, what they fear most is dying in this settlement area. So far, they've already lost about 20 people, including children.
When we die, they can't bury us here. They transfer dead bodies to Kakuto, to Mutukura, and we go very night.
It is very far from here, first of all. So you find that even when we are going there, there is even a problem of transport. We go there on a small vehicle, like 5 people, going to bury very late at 1, I mean at 7 in the evening.
And in the way we are burying our people is very sad, because you go to bury, you dig just a pit, a short pit, and you put there a carcass, and then you come back.
After these cells, we decided to go visit the Abhad burial place with 2 of the chairpersons of the 6 cells at the camp of over 4,000 refugees who insist on being called returnees. This is as far as the car can go after a ride of about 20 minutes from the settlement area. Even the police car which helps bring the dead stops here.
They say, police, you go take your diamond, you take there at the place where you are going to bar, and that place, it is a longer distance to go there.
Well, it's a distance we are determined to walk, so out of the car we get and take the first steps on what looks like an inexistent path.
We wade through these holes in the road carrying either a child or even an adult's corpse, and sometimes we trip. And that place is the place of the water. You are going with the jumping some water, and if you miss, you'll fall in the water.
I'm told if I'm in shape, it will take me 20 minutes to walk. Well, I happen to be in some comfortable shoes, enough to let keep at 30 minutes.
We are still moving. It's a long way off from the barrier.
Although at this point I want to make a turn for the car, I soldier on. He tells me that since they bury mostly in the evening, there are times returned to find the car gone.
We go there at 7 in the evening, they bury, and they finish that exercise at around 10 at night. So they come back even on foot.
We continue the walk and we find a resident who confirms what most Sango Bay residents have been telling me.
We at times go see how they throw them in the narrow graves.
Sachindi urges us on, but at this point we've had a few accidents along the way in attempting to wade through the muddy holed path. Finally we get to it. Nothing singles this place out as a burial ground. Ironically, a bricklayer too makes use of the land. He always jumps the graves as he carries on with his work.
The reality is their burial is bad.
He leads us to the grave of a child which does not even bear a cross.
There were a few people at the burial and the man was drunk and the hole was no more than 1 foot.
And right now, the grave that I'm at, I'm told that if I can use my bare hands to dig through, I could easily reach the body any second. Just pulling away this. Within a second and I'll be at the body.
Such a burial ground has made the people in Sango Bay fear death.
If I died, our son, I cannot find where I can bury him. Because I know that your man, if die, I know that you are going to give the dog to eat.
All the more reason why these people want out of the camp and their own land to till. Had the lives of these refugees been different, these graves would have been treated as sacred near their homes and the beloved given the respect they deserve. Florence Nalimba, NTV in Mutukula.
Thank you, Florence Nalimba. Now, do remember that we are streaming live. Our YouTube channel is www.youtube.com/NTVUganda. You can catch any clip that you might have missed in tonight's newscast.
Yeah, we are going to take a short break, but still to come on NTV Tonight.
The cost of poor post-harvest handling. Uganda loses over 480 million shillings in fish store.
Still in the game, Total dismisses reports it is pulling out of the Albertine region.
This is NTV Tonight.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
This is NTV Tonight.
Welcome back to NTV Tonight. Now, many of us have bought fish that has gone bad from a fish stall, but do you know what causes fish to go bad?
Now, Uganda loses $220,000 annually from spoiled fish due to poor post-harvesting methods.
Now, the European Union and the Food and Agriculture Organization have injected 21 million euros to teach fishermen better post-harvesting methods.
NTV's Solomon Serwancha visited Chiindi landing site.
Chiindi landing site, located at the periphery of Bugerere district, is a hub of fishing. The landing site continues to sustain the country's fish industry and employs about 500 fishmongers. When we arrived at the site, the area was bustling with activity. In the fiercely competitive business, the fish here is auctioned to the highest bidder. Here, it is only the tilapia which is auctioned.
Our tilapia is very expensive, but it's very good because it comes from this great lake and it's healthy food. Many people also believe its eyes cure diseases.
On the other hand of the landing site, the Nile perch business thrives. At these stalls, the fish, which weighs usually larger than the other types of fish, is packed into cars and transported to different factories for export. We also captured the month's biggest catch. This Nile perch, which is estimated to be more than 200 kilograms, is up for sale. Even though the business appears to be thriving, the fishermen here sometimes bear heavy losses due to the huge amounts of fish that is spoilt by the time it gets to the site. According to the fishermen, much of the fish goes bad after being removed from the nets to the boats. Sometimes the fishermen spend a few days in the lake trying to catch as much as possible. However, by the time they return to the mainland, some fish has gone bad. When they get to the mainland, they also sell off the spoiled fish alongside the fresh ones, especially during auctioning. The fishermen also revealed that often there is market for the fish which is going bad. The spoiled fish then ends up on stalls. But do customers know how to select fresh fish from the spoiled ones?
The gills are red when the fish is very fresh, and they turn yellow, maroon, and brownish when the fish gets spoiled, and they start having a lot of mucus inside of the branchies in the gills. Another is you can touch the fish. If when you touch the fish, the mark of your finger remains, that means the flesh of the fish is already spoiled.
Another mark that you need to look out for is the color of the fish. Experts say should be silvery. This also extends to the silver fish, commonly known as mukene.
Check the color. The color must be silver and must be very shiny. If the color of the mukene it's brownish, and if the mukene is too shrunk, so it's very skinny, like if it's been, very, very slim, that means that has been dried too much and that has been oxidated.
According to the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, Uganda loses about $220,000 annually as a result of poor post-harvesting and fish handling. The Food and Agriculture Organization, under the Smart Fish Project, is now educating fishermen on better post-harvesting methods. As the sun sets across the Chiindi landing site, the fishermen here are preparing to launch into the deep for a night catch. But as you can see, they are loading ice, and Because you see the amount of ice that you're able to load, which will pretty much determine how much fresh fish you'll be able to bring back to the mainland at the end of the night. Solomon Serwanja, NTV.
Thank you, Solomon Seranja. Police in Kampala have recovered a stolen car hidden at a house in the Kajansi neighborhood with its registration number altered to avoid detection. The owner of the house is reported to be on the run, and police have begun tracking him down.
The wave of crime grows by the day in Uganda, with robbers finding finer techniques. Last night, police in Kajansi were able to locate a car which had been stolen by unknown thugs. The thugs had neatly tucked it away in a home in Kajansi after changing its registration number.
Of course, we got it left at someone's home, and we had to decide that it should be brought to this station of ours.
As police try to determine who the owner of the car is, they are also looking for the whereabouts of those behind its disappearance.
These people who stole it had to use another number plate, UAM 4572. We don't know where they might have stolen it.
There was no one to help the police with the information about the car at the home where it was found. Some people say while they would want to report thieves like this to the police, they much prefer to be safe, and that is not guaranteed by renting out the thieves who could figure out a way to get back at them.
Not really. But in case if the police is searching for the car, you can tell them. But to go to the police and tell them that this car has been stolen, it's always a problem.
It's not a mean task trying to determine if the cars you find at these garages are the stolen cars. You need the assistance of the workers at these garages, but they are not quick to tell such truth.
Religious leaders have asked the government to be more transparent and crack hard on any corrupt practices as it embarks on the National IDs project. This as the Inter-Religious Council met with the Minister for Internal Affairs, Aronda Nyakairima. The ministry is currently seeking the backing of various stakeholders as it embarks on the project, which has previously been marred with delays and corruption.
Citizen registration or before registration.
This is one of those transformational strategies the country is aiming at, to put in place a national identity card in order to enhance what is already done, in order for us to move steadily, irreversibly, and unstoppably to Vision 2040.
You see that you have the care for souls for everybody. The lay people, and also for some members of the police, or they want our help when it comes to marriage, confirmation of their children, etc.
I have sufficient degree of belief that we will deliver an exercise that is corrupt-free. It would be very helpful if the premises were made available.
Well, let's now take another short break. We return with the very latest in business.
I have now in a dilemma. I will have to go back to Parliament to make sure that I tie your hands. But why should I tie hands of mature people? Learned friends, they need to be tied as children so that they don't misuse this power.
This is NTV Tonight.
Now On is brought to you by Dairy Fresh Flavored Milk. Enjoy the tasty and nutritious goodness of Dairy Fresh Flavored Milk. Delicious to the last drop. Brookside, goodness for all.
Time for
the latest in business now. My name is Malcolm Sime. Total Exploration and Production, an arm of Total Uganda's operations, has denied that it is pulling out of Uganda. This follows reports that a huge part of Total's exploration equipment was being shipped back to Mombasa from the Albertine region, where they have licenses to explore. NTV's Samuel Setumba investigates.
Out of 5 oil rigs from Total's exploration in the Albertine region, only one is left, raising concern that the company could be pulling out of its Ugandan exploration business. First, Total dismisses the claim.
There is no intention whatsoever of Total E&P Uganda to pull out from this area.
But why are drilling equipment being taken out of the exploration zone?
As we are progressing and as the exploration and appraisal is coming to an end, our drilling operations are going to decrease. And that is why you will find one rig in operation at the moment in our area of operation.
Awaiting investment of up to $13 billion in the next step of oil production are government due processes.
Sinuk has got the first production license in September last year, which is, of course, a great milestone. And Tullow and Total are in the process of waiting for the approval from the authorities to be granted a production license. So these steps are very key in moving towards the production in Uganda.
The industry awaits the choosing of one lead investor in the proposed refinery from 6 pre-qualified groups of investors expected before June 2014. Samuel Setumba, NTV Business.
Thank you, Sam. Now from the gas and oil and gas sector to farming. Now, smallholder farmers in the country stand to benefit from the 24.5 billion shillings project by Heifer in Uganda. The project, known as the East African Dairy Development Project, aims at helping dairy farmers have access to the market.
When it comes down to the numbers, the livestock subsector contributes 13.1% of the whole agriculture sector's gross domestic product and 1.8% of the national GDP. According to the State Minister for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, the increase in livestock in the country could provide even more good news to the country's economy.
The 2011 National Livestock Census estimates that about a quarter of the household in Uganda, about 1.7 million households, own cattle, and that the national cattle herd is now estimated to be at 13.5 million. The total number of milked cow is estimated to be 1.5 million, producing about 1.86 billion liters per annum.
However, much as the figures indicate an existing potential in the trade, it's still plagued with a number of bottlenecks. Through the East Africa Dairy Development Project, Heifer Uganda, in the second phase of the program, is out to address these bottlenecks.
They face issues of productivity, they face issues of access to inputs and services, they face challenges of access to financial services. So this project is really meant to ensure that it addresses those challenges by ensuring that farmers participate profitably within the dairy value chain.
The project has received funding of up to $10.9 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which will go towards improving dairy farming as well as livelihoods of smallholder farmers.
This is being done through enabling farmers to organize and create institutions through which they can act collectively and get their voices heard in control and decision-making process. Building farmer capacity to demand for both research and agriculture advisory services.
The project's aim is to support up to 43,000 smallholder farmers in the country by linking them to markets as well as enabling them to access services to assist them in their trade. Ingrid Nantege, NTV Business.
Let's have a look at the markets now. An improvement in the share price performance on several counters has helped boost the all-share price index, which today closed at 1,511 shillings compared to last Friday's 1,506. And in the currency market, the shilling has maintained a fairly strong footing against the dollar, as we have in this report.
Financial report
is brought to you by
Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you. Diva Motor Insurance. No matter what happens to your car, we will always come to your rescue with our Diva Motor Insurance. Let's treat you like a lady. Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you.
Further tonight, Uganda's economic stability and its membership with regional economic blocs have helped boost the country's fortunes in attracting foreign direct investments. Trade Ministry officials contend that the country's East African Community and COMESA membership, at a time when it has discovered commercially viable oil deposits, have helped raise its stature as a good investment destination.
With oil deposits estimated at 3.5 billion barrels and membership to 130 million consumer strong market, Uganda, according to Trade Ministry officials, is well poised to attract more investments. Speaking during a partnership launch between UK's oil lubricants manufacturer Silverhook Lubricants and a local firm Linab Autowear, the Commissioner for Trade, Dr. Joshua Mutambi, asked local firms to leverage on these realities in pursuit of international partnership.
The government has negotiated and ensured that we reduce the non-tariff barriers which have been hindering the movement of goods by road, and more is being done. This is not only in the road infrastructure, but also the railway infrastructure is soon being tackled.
He urged that government has also invested more effort in reducing the cost of doing business both in the country and the region, which today is cited as one of the key hindrances to investment.
Our local market is growing because we now have signed the tripartite. So when your goods come to Uganda, rest assured that you are going to supply the entire region, because we have the East African Community, we have COMESA and SADA.
And to the local firm in this partnership, the development is in line with government's commitment to extend support to the Ugandan diaspora interested in investing at home.
The government will support us because we are creating jobs for Ugandan people. His Excellency, the President Yoweri Museveni, came to UK and we had a meeting. Business people, he told us to come back, we'll get support.
That was up NTV Business for tonight. We're going to take a short break and we'll bring you the very latest from the world of sports with Joel Kamadi.
For me, I'm probably in Metropolis. I do this for the love, so this is non-profit shit. I'm bored walking, so you can call this monopoly.
Log in.
NTV so magnetic.
I don't even know what to ask you because I just feel like I'm standing next to Juliana.
But not the sugar, the salt, the babe, but brought the best in order to promote all the sectors that you've got.
For the glitz and glamour of Kampala's most flamboyant people and events.
The exclusive, woo! I love it!
I'm so Sean bored up right now.
Log in, only on NTV.
Have a baby by me, baby. Be a millionaire, I write the check before the baby comes.
A warm welcome to NTV Sport, where we start with the news of a change in the qualification format of the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations due in Morocco. Now it's 36 years and counting since the national football team, the Cranes, qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations finals. Tonight, a qualification format has given Uganda a spring in its step. Observers are saying the change of format may just be the lucky break that a hapless Cranes side has been longing for. Previously, a dozen 4-team groups have always been arranged in a straightforward seeding system that sees group winners secure tickets to the finals. This system has also seen runners-up secure backdoor tickets as the best losers. Tonight, there is a sea of change in the qualification format, with 2 top-placed teams from each of the 7 4-team groups set to secure tickets to the finals. What this means is that if the Cranes finish in the top 2 of their group, they will be at the AFCON finals. Uganda will first have to negotiate a preliminary qualifier between May and August to qualify for the group stages. Uganda's likely opponents at the preliminary stage include Rwanda, Tanzania, Namibia, Burundi, Lesotho, Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, Chad, Sao Tome, Seychelles, Comoros, Mauritius, Swaziland, Eritrea, Mauritania, or South Sudan. Moving on to rugby, top-flight club Sadolin Mongers may not quite be on a roll, but they seem to have turned a corner. The NTV-based club recently picked the scalp of MTN Heathens at their fortress, known to many as the House of Pain. We picked the mind of their English coach, Robert Powell, who reckons there is a lot more to come from his side. It's been quite a season for the Sadolin Mongers. The Entebbe-based club early this month pulled off the mother of all upsets while beating MTN Heathens in the league backdrop. Over the weekend, Mongers travelled to Kampala, where they picked up a credible 19-all draw against a resurgent Easy Money Rhino side. Adrian Waswa, the try-scorer in the shock win over Heathens, has been one of the finds this season. Englishman Robert Powell joined Mongers' backroom staff last October and has seen his charges go from strength to strength.
We put some structure into the training sessions. We brought in some fresh ideas, and basically it's a question of channeling where the guys want to go, channel the aggression, and focus on certain areas of the game where we know we can beat the opposition.
Powell has been impressed by Mongers' loose play, but believes a lot needs to be done about their scrum. Mongers play host to relegation-threatened Mutoni Warriors this Saturday. Their captain, the Lock, John Wandicho, says they will get back to winning ways. On to volleyball, the national ladies team is tonight stamping its mark in the build-up matches it has played in the Netherlands. The Lady Cranes have won 2 of the 3 games they have played thus far. Now, as Sam Poser reports, the performance has boded well for the team ahead of next month's World Cup qualifiers.
Team Uganda's trip to Netherlands to prepare for next month's World Cup qualifiers in Nairobi is going just the way they would want. Despite Dutch First Division side Veracruz subjecting Uganda to a straight set loss in the first game, consecutive victories have stood the Lady Cranes in good stead. Uganda beat First Division side Donatas Volleyball Club in straight sets before seeing off a second-tier team by 2-1. During next month's World Cup qualifiers in Kenya, the Lady Cranes will take on 6 African countries. With only 1 World Cup slot up for grabs for the Nairobi group, the competition is bound to be fierce. Uganda made the second round of the qualifiers last year when they finished second behind Kenya in Kampala. Meanwhile, Kampala-based Northern Region men are the champions of this year's President's Cup, held at the Makerere University Business School in Nakawa. This as they beat their counterparts from the East in the decisive set to win the title. Central Region took the ladies' title after a straight sets win over Eastern Region. 16 regional teams took part in the 2-day championship. Sam Poza, NTV Sport.
Yesterday, we did see an upset in the Australian Open, and the Open champion, Stanislas Wawrinka, said he did not believe he was good enough to win a Grand Slam. The 28-year-old Swiss beat world number 1 Rafael Nadal 6-3, 6-2, 3-6, 6-3 in Sunday's final in Melbourne. It's been quite a season for the Sadolin Mongers. The Entebbe-based club early this month pulled off the mother of all upsets while beating MTN Heathens in the league backdrop. Over the weekend, Mongers travelled to Kampala, where they picked up a credible 19-all draw against a resurgent.
Last year I had a crazy match. I lost it. I was crying a lot after the match, but in 1 year a lot happened, and right now I still don't know if I'm dreaming or not, but we'll see tomorrow morning.
all the crowd. Have been just very, very emotional 2 weeks. I'm, sorry to finish this way. I tried very, very hard. Well, thank you. Well, last year was a very tough moment when I didn't have the chance to be playing here. This year was one of the more emotional tournaments in my career. Thank you very much for the support. Have been more than ever. I really enjoyed it so much playing in this court. So just thank you very much, and see you in 12 months. Thank you.
We do apologize for that earlier glitch at the beginning of that story. That winds up NTV Sports. Thanks for watching.
Well, we do appreciate your company on NTV tonight. Do join us yet again for the latest news stories right here on NTV. And of course, if you missed any of our news clips, you can catch them on our YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/NTVUganda. Good night.
NTV, turning on your world.